For most of my life and most of my career, I thought I was really good at multitasking. I'd answer emails while listening to a meeting. I'd have YouTube playing while I was studying. I'd stop writing code to respond to a Teams message, then check my phone, then back to coding, then another email. And at the end of the day, I felt incredibly productive. Busy all day, always doing something. But somehow, the important work wasn't quite getting finished. I wasn't multitasking. I was getting really good at being distracted. And I didn't even realize I was practicing it. I used to end a lot of days feeling exhausted. Busy all day, emails answered, messages replied to, meetings attended. A few things checked off my list. And somehow, the important things still weren't finished. The studying didn't happen. The learning didn't happen. That thing that I sat down to do never really happened at all. I was busy, but I wasn't really moving forward. I started wondering, how can I spend an entire day doing things, completing tasks, and still feel like I didn't get anything meaningful done? I don't think I'm alone in this. I think a lot of us, most of us probably, confuse movement with progress because being busy feels productive. I've done this more times than I'd like to admit. I'll sit down to study for a new certification. Course is open on my laptop. I got my notebook ready, coffee in hand. Then I'll turn on the TV and I'll tell myself, I'm just going to put something on in the background. Or I start checking email. Or I pick up my phone for just a second. And an hour later, I've watched half of a single course module, and somehow I know exactly what's happening in the television show or the game or tournament that I've got on in the background. But I haven't really learned very much. I gave my attention to 5 different things, and none of them got the best of me. As a software engineer, I've done this too. Trying to write code, I've got Teams open, my email open, notifications are popping up. I've got 3 to 7 browser tabs that I don't need, a YouTube tutorial playing on another monitor. And I tell myself, I'm multitasking. I'm being productive. This is efficient. But if I'm honest, I'm mostly switching my attention every few minutes. And every switch pulls me a little farther away from actually solving the problem. And I started noticing a pattern. The things that make me feel productive aren't always the things that move me forward. Because being busy is obvious. You can see it, you can measure it, and you can point to it. Progress. Now, progress is different. Progress is often quiet. It's one focused study session, one difficult problem solved, one intentional bucket of golf balls at the driving range. And those moments don't always feel impressive but they're usually the moments that move us forward. So I started asking myself a different question. What if multitasking isn't making me more productive? What if it's simply making me feel productive while quietly stealing my ability to do meaningful work? One of the first things I noticed as a software engineer was how expensive interruptions are. You don't just stop typing, you lose the thread. The interruption ends, and suddenly you're trying to remember where you were and what you were doing. The work didn't pause. In a lot of ways, it completely restarted. And sometimes I come back to it, and I never quite get back to where I was. I think we've all experienced this. You finally get your head wrapped around a difficult problem, then an email comes in, or a Teams message pops up. Someone has just a real quick question, and suddenly the thread is broken. And now I have to find it again. You don't lose 30 seconds. Sometimes you lose 20 minutes. And golf works exactly the same way. So let's say I'm at the driving range and I'm trying to work on my driver. Maybe I'm paying attention to my setup. Maybe I'm trying to improve my club path. Or maybe I'm just working on making better contact with the ball. So I hit a few shots and I start noticing a pattern. Maybe I'm coming over the top, or maybe my tempo is a little off. And maybe I'm finally zeroing in on the thing I need to work on. Right about then, I pull out my phone and I check my numbers. Or I watch another quick swing tip on YouTube. Answer a text message I heard come in a few minutes ago. Or maybe I even switch clubs. So I wonder if I'm looking for information or if I'm looking for an escape. Because staying with one thing long enough to improve is hard, especially when you're struggling, and especially when the answer isn't obvious. Distractions let us leave the discomfort for a little while. Every time we switch our attention, there's a cost. It's a small tax we pay. The problem is that we rarely notice it in the moment. But by the end of the day, all those little taxes add up. And suddenly, we're exhausted without feeling like we've moved very far at all. Because every switch steals a little momentum. And momentum is usually where the meaningful work happens. And I think this is why multitasking is so appealing. It creates the illusion of productivity while quietly pulling us away from meaningful work. Because all day long, we can point to the things we did. I answered 20 emails. I replied to messages. I cleared notifications. I checked things off my list. I stayed busy. Sometimes I genuinely worked hard. But hard work and meaningful work aren't always the same thing. I think our brains love the small wins. You send an email, tiny victory. You answer a text message, tiny victory. You clear a couple of notifications, tiny victory. Close a few browser tabs that you aren't using anymore, another tiny victory. All day long, we collect these little moments of completion, and they feel good. The problem is those tiny wins, those tiny victories, can slowly replace the work that actually matters. Because easy work feels finished. Difficult work feels unfinished for a very long time. Studying for a certification doesn't always feel good. Writing code doesn't always feel good. Learning something new doesn't always feel good. Practicing golf definitely doesn't always feel good. Those things are hard. They're uncomfortable. They're frustrating. And they require sustained attention. They don't give us little rewards every 30 seconds. Sometimes they don't give us any reward at all until weeks or even months later. I wonder if sometimes we tell ourselves we're multitasking because we're efficient, but maybe something else is happening. Maybe we're protecting the easy work from the difficult work. Because difficult work asks something of us. It asks us to concentrate, to struggle, to be confused, to sit with a problem when we don't yet know the answer, and to keep going anyway. That's uncomfortable. So instead, we answer another email. And I have absolutely done this. I'll tell myself, oh, I'm just checking one thing. And that leads me to another, and then another, and then another. And before I know it, I've spent 30 minutes avoiding the thing I originally sat down to do. Not because I was lazy, but because difficult work is uncomfortable. And golf has been teaching me this lesson on a weekly basis. It's easy to hit balls mindlessly. It's easy to change clubs every few swings. It's easy to look at a launch monitor numbers after every shot. It's easy to pull out my phone and watch another tip. What's difficult is slowing down, picking one thing to work on, being patient, staying with it long enough to actually learn something. Because sometimes we're not looking for another answer. We're looking for a way to stop feeling uncomfortable. Because discomfort makes distractions look productive. Real improvement usually feels slower, less exciting, less productive, at least in that moment. But that's often where the real work is happening. And maybe the goal isn't to do more things. Maybe the goal is to give more of ourselves to fewer things. Because attention is limited. We only get so much of it every day. And every time we divide it, we dilute it. We give a little less of ourselves to the things that matter most. And I think that's becoming a competitive advantage. Because in a world that's constantly asking for our attention, the ability to choose where we place it might just change everything. Because the things that change our lives usually need more than a few scattered moments of attention. One conversation, one page, one study session, one bucket at the range, one thing at a time. Not great, just a little better than yesterday.